Now, when we did equations, we learned how to handle fractions and decimals. Okay, we learned some strategies, with our fractions of multiplying everything by the common denominator to get rid of all your fractions, or with decimals multiplying by a power of 10, that would eliminate all your decimals. So we're going to do that with inequalities today. Okay. Now, when we did it with equations, I kind of sugar-coated it for you. I gave you certain problems that didn't require too much. And I know you're thinking, are you kidding me? That was hard. But I'm not sugar-coating it today. I'm going to give you two examples that have issues in them that we're going to have to address so that you have some strategies in your back pocket for dealing with these ones that are kind of a little off or a little funky or a little challenging. Okay? So we're going to do two examples today. Let's get started. Okay, here's our first example. What would our common denominator be here? 15, fabulous. So I'm going to do exactly like I did with equations. I'm going to multiply both sides by 15. I'm going to put a little note off to the side too, just to remind myself of what I'm doing. For fractions, we want to multiply by a common denominator. Okay. Now let's take a look at what happens when we do that. 15 times negative 3 will be negative 45. 15 times negative 2/3 will be, yeah, this is 2/3 right here. So that will be negative 10, I believe, right? Yes, because I multiply 15 times 2 is 30, divided by 3, that's 10. Okay. Now this right here is something that I haven't asked you to do yet. Okay? It's not going to be as simple as just eliminating the denominator here, because it's a mixed number. So I have several strategies that I'm going to show you for how to deal with this right here. Strategy number 1. What you can do is you can take the mixed number and turn it into an improper fraction and then multiply by 15. So this would be negative 8/5. Then multiply by 15. And in this case, I'll divide first. This is 3. 3 times 8 is 24. So this would be negative 24. That is one strategy that you can use when it's a mixed number. Another strategy that you can use is to break the mixed number into two parts and multiply them by 15 separately. So another method here is to first multiply the 1 by the 15 and then multiply the 3/5 times the 15 and then just add them. So negative 1 times 15 is negative 15. Negative 2/5 times 15 will be negative 9. And then if I add them, I get negative 24 again. So that's another strategy you can use. Last strategy. There might be more, but we're going to stick with the 3. Is probably a favored one. It's just taking this thing and turning it into a decimal. So that would be negative 1.6. Then you multiply by 15. And if I do 1.6 times 15, and I add it, I'm going to get 24 again. So no matter how you slice it, this is going to be negative 24. So just beware that when it's a mixed number like that, it's not just like a quick in your head type thing most of the time. You're going to have to do a little bit of math on that, okay? Now, so like I said, today's lesson is worst case scenario. These are the things you're going to see, but you will not see all these worst case scenarios on your test. I just want you to be prepared, okay? And you're going to have to use lots of different strategies. Yes, ma'am? Yes. It is.
Well, on the bottom of number 3, it's...
Oh, because I added the negative right there, but that's fine. All right, let's take a look here. I'm going to go ahead and solve this regularly now, so I'm going to add 45. And this will be 21. And then I will divide both sides by negative 10. Since I divided by a negative, what do I have to do?
Switch.
Flip the symbol. Good. Okay, so I can answer this a lot of different ways. I can leave this as an improper fraction like that. Or I can turn it into a mixed number like this. Okay, or I can turn it into a decimal. I have set up the answer checker today to accept all those answers. Okay, so however you want to show your answer is fine, as long as it's a correct answer. So that was kind of worst case scenario for fractions, and now we're going to look at an example for decimal. All right, let's take a look at this example. Hey, what am I going to multiply both sides by here? 100, good. 10 wouldn't be quite enough, right? But if you remember back, and we'll put a little note here, with decimals, we like to multiply by a power of 10. Multiply by a power of 10. And what that will do is it will eliminate all of your decimals. Usually. But we've got a special case here that I'm going to show you in just a second. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to multiply both sides by 100. So this is going to be negative 810 plus, I'm going to come back to this one because this one is not straightforward. And then I'm going to come over to this side, and this will be negative 535. Now, this one, like I said, is not very straightforward. So let's take a look at what's happening there. You have 100 times b over negative 3.2. Well, you can't just multiply that denominator by 100, because that's not what's happening when you multiply both sides by 100. You're multiplying the numerator by 100. Because remember, there's an imaginary 1 under that 100, and we multiply straight across. So this will be 100b over negative 3.2. which is not ideal because you still have a decimal, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's pull another strategy from elementary school out of our bag here. Let's take 100b over negative 3.2 and multiply it by 10 over 10. Now 10 over 10 is just 1, right? It has a value of 1.
Yeah.
So it doesn't change the value of your fraction at all. But what it does is it moves that decimal place over one space. So this will be 1000b over negative 32. So now I can take what I have here, write it into my equation, or my inequality, like this. So I'm just trying to expose you to all the weird things that could happen when you're doing fractions and decimals. Now let's go through and solve this one. I didn't mean to, but this one is actually kind of a three-stepper, so let's go through it together. I'm going to add 810 to both sides. So I'm left with 1000b over negative 32 is greater than, $275. Now I'm going to, I need to get rid of the denominator here, so I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 32. These cancel. And I'll be left with 1000b. Oh, what should I do here? Flip it. Flip the symbol because I multiply both sides by a negative. So 275 times 32 is going to be negative 8,800. But I still have, my variable is still not isolated yet, so I'm going to divide both sides by 1,000 now. And I can write my answer several different ways. I can write it as a decimal, so this would be negative 8.8. Or I can write it as a mixed number, so this would be negative 8 4/5 when it's reduced. Or I can write it as an improper fraction, which would be 88 over 10 reduced to 44 over 5. And like I said, I set up the answer checker today so that it will take all those answers. Those are all correct. Okay. Okay, so I brought you in, let you color for a little while, and then I hit you with a lesson. Now, I've tried to leave a bunch of class time so that you can work on this with your neighbors. And I'm going to walk around and help you too, because I know that there will be times when you might get stuck. There's 6 problems. You need to show your work, and you are going to turn it in. Oh, yeah, Robbie.
To put our answer in the answer checker, do we just put like the answer itself, like b equals, or b is less than, or, oh, no.
Yeah, so you need to write it as an inequality, and make sure you use like less than and equal to if it's both of those, because there isn't a symbol in Google Forms for that. So if it's a greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, just put it in like this, okay? And I actually printed out your homework, but so that you'd have room to do your work, and a number line already set up. But I forgot to spread it out so that you would actually have room after each one. So you could do your work down here, but it is on paper today so that you can have a nice week. table of contents, you guys.